Thanks, Billy. As we get set to go racing in the big one, a 50-lapper with 2 pit stops. Stephen Richards on pole alongside Neil Crompton, Greg Murphy and Jason Bargwanna on row 2. Seaton and Scape on row 3. Todd Kelly and Dougal McDougall on row 4.
Just a reminder, if you've just joined us, those grid positions are determined by the results in the first 2 25-lap races. Craig Lowndes started out at 10, Larry Perkins, Paul Wheel, Radisich, Johnson, Trevor Ashby and Mark Larkham in 16.
Position 17 is Brad Jones, 18 Tony Longhurst, 19 and 20 Garth Tander and Anthony Tratt. Row 11 Rodney Forbes and Russell Ingall. Then it's Steve Reed and John Faulkner, who's a non-starter in this one, just withdrawn because of that crash in race 2.
Yes, amazing stories up and down that grid, isn't there? John Bowe back in 25th. Paul Morris had a big lose in race 2. Fortunately, he'll take the grid for the final. 50 laps, double points, so 120 Shell Championship points on offer for whoever wins this race. This is a very important race. There's who's out. Craig Baird went out yesterday in a big collision. John Bowe, John Faulkner, of course, coming to grief at Queen Victoria Terrace earlier on today. But there is the front row of the grid. Neil Crompton representing Ford in the FTR Falcon. Stephen Richards alongside. They've been very consistently highly placed in those 2 25-lap races. That's why they've earned the right to start from the front. Can they take advantage of it this afternoon?
30 cars set to do battle. The conclusion, a stunning climax to the street race and the street fight that they call the GMC 400. Who will get the jump? Will it be Crompton or will it be Stephen Richards in the Kmart Commodore? Richards away very smartly. Crompton tucks into second. Look at Bargwanna. He's got the edge over Murphy as they run towards turn 1 for the first time. Stephen Richards.
You see Paul Morris down the outside there. God, he's... this is where it all gets a bit on the tricky side, isn't it? The first tight corner.
Very, very tight through turn 1, but fortunately this field have had a few attempts at it now. They know how it works. They know they've got a funnel through there and they've got a long way to go. So a nice clean start to the all-important third race here at the GMC 400. Double points on offer. And there's your Ford Limit race analysis. 30 starters making the grid. 50 laps, just under 200 kilometres in distance. They have to make compulsory stops for both fuel and tyres, and both of those have to be completed between laps 2 and lap 36.
Got Lowndes trying to have a look at Dougal McDougall as they sweep up Kings Avenue. Now to State Circle. Nowhere in the world do you see anything like this. They run here between the old and the new Parliament House. It doesn't happen with NASCARs around the White House, and it doesn't happen with Formula One cars around the House of Lords, but here the V8s are storming around the nation's capital in between our Parliament House and Dougal McDougall goes on. Yeah. And that has allowed Lowndes to come through.
Thundering down Flynn Drive for the first of 50 times. Neil Crompton leads the pack just behind Stephen Richards, who got a great start off the grid. Big field filing through that very tight turn 12. Hammering up through the gears once again down Flynn Place, pitching 180 kilometres an hour on the approach to turn 13.
It's going to be really interesting in the latter stages of the race. A lot of people had trouble with the left-hand front tyres wearing right the way through. So we'll have to, when it gets sort of 20 laps or so, you can see a lot of problems.
There's an indication of who's been doing the business on the streets of Canberra. Richards, 99 points. Crompton, 87 points. Murphy, 84. Bargwanna, Kelly and McDougall in there too. Great effort from Dougal McDougall, the third of the Perkins-prepared Commodores. But it really has been a battle of survival. We've got a long way to go yet before this one's over.
Up into turn 1 once again. A great crowd here. You can see them to the right-hand side there. There is Stephen Richards. He's got a handy gap already on Neil Crompton, just over 2 seconds. Third place, Jason Bargwanna. As they sweep through here, Murphy tucked in behind Bargwanna. And then it's Glenn Seaton, Mark Scape, Craig Lowndes, Todd Kelly, Larry Perkins, and McDougall has fought back to retain 10th place.
You have to say Richards' car looks really nicely set up. You see it coming through the chicane there. It's really nice and steady, you know, by comparison, for example, to Seaton's car.
I just wonder if the Kmart team are taking an each-way bet. That's the advantage of having 2 cars. You can start the race on a full tank of fuel, 120 litres of fuel. And probably have to come in for a splash and dash late in the race, or you can start with a lighter fuel load. That means you've got to take on more fuel later on. It's a real gamble, particularly how the safety car periods work. They could work in your favour or they could work against you. But look at the speed that Stephen Richards is showing here. He may well be on a light fuel load.
You talk there, Mark, about the different kinds of strategies in between races 2 and 3. We spent a bit of time talking to the different teams and the different drivers about their approach to this third one. There is just so many different options they can take into this race. Incredible.
It's going to be fascinating to watch it unfold. There's going to be so many different strategies at work here. and we're only going to see them come to life when that pit window opens. It's open now. Between lap 2 and lap 36. There's also a question too about going in for your tyre stop very early. We saw Seaton get caught out by that in the Adelaide 500 when he made a tyre stop very early. And when he was under attack from Lowndes late in the race, he had no rubber left. So a lot of these teams have wanted to be, I would think, leaving their tyre change to about half race distance to make sure they've got plenty of grip in case there's a late race challenge.
Big question mark going into this race as well over brakes. This place has been a little tough on brakes. So Larkham's in. Here we go. Pit stop central happening here. Brad Jones filing in as well. So too John Bow. The meat in the sandwich there. Cameron McLean. We can see Steve Reed filing in the first of the Optus Commodore. Now in the bottom of your screen there,
look at
the Walker pit stop camera shows you the stop for Larkham. Yep.
Larkham's thing's leaking water. She's boiling, I would say. Look at it.
Now that is rotten luck for the Queenslander, who was doing so well during the course of qualifying here on Friday. Was the fastest on Friday, heading out into the top 15 shootout. So McLean doing tyres.
Yep, going for rubber very early on. John Bow gets out before McLean.
And Jones, so Bow's done very well in that stop.
McLean now rejoins the circuit, so that's interesting. Some teams going for tyre very, very early in the race.
Once they've made their mandatory stop for tyres, if there's a yellow flag, then they can come in and change again if they want to.
So through the Queen Victoria Terrace part now. There's the bonnet coming back down again on the Mitre 10 Ford. Let's go to Grant Denyer.
Well, the word down here in the pits is that he's losing water. They don't know what's caused it. Possibly a hole in the radio. They're not too sure, but they've put the bonnet down. They've topped it up now. They're changing tyres, and they'll dump him and send him back out. But how sensational is it to be here? The first that they all went past, it was like a dust storm down here at the start straight with so many leaves around. It was quite incredible.
Yeah, there's been a lot of comment from the teams about those leaves blowing around, getting caught in the cool induction or the air scoops at the front of the car, which cool the brakes in the engine. Some of the teams have been putting wire screens and things across there now because we're saying that particularly it's been affecting brake temperatures, the leaves building up inside the brake ducts. So a lot of engineering going on between races to cope with the autumn leaves.
And it's interesting, Mark, to look at the ingenuity when it comes to things like that as well. Different forms of that wire mesh being applied to try and keep those leaves off. The Kmart team, for example, have come up with a pointed nose approach where they try and brush the leaves away. So yeah, very, very interesting way of trying to keep the leaves from blocking the radiator. There is your Munro driver profile, Stephen Richards, the 27-year-old who recently became a daddy for the first time. I know his wife Angela is watching at home in Melbourne. 40 starts in the Shell Championship Series, 1 victory. And for those of you that think back to Mount Panorama Bathurst last year, then it was in Wynn's colours, and he and teammate Greg Murphy, who sits in 4th place, took victory in the FAI 1000.
I reckon your thing, Mark, about Stephen Richards maybe starting with a lighter fuel load makes a lot of sense, because he seems to be, he's lapping, he's pulled out 2, nearly 3 seconds now, and it's strange how all of a sudden it could be that much quicker.
Doing some quick times, isn't he? 46.45 last time around. That's actually the fastest lap of the race so far for Stephen Richards in the Kmart machine, so he's flying. We're only guessing at these strategies. We don't know what these teams have come up with. Keep them secret right up to the beginning of the race, and they're only revealed as the race unfolds itself. So who will be at the top at the end of this 50-lap race? Ultra important in terms of the Shell Championship Series. 120 points, a double points race on offer here this afternoon.
It's early days in this 3rd race, but look at this. McDougall caught up the traffic jam. Yep, Radicic contact with McDougall.
Right in the middle of that.
So there's confirmation of what Barry Sheene was talking about before, I would think. Quickest Stephen Richards on the circuit at the moment. Bear in mind, though, that he doesn't have any traffic to contend with. Out in front and doing a good job at the moment, the 27-year-old. And a tremendous confidence boost as well for the Kmart racing team. Those guys coming off the high of their victory at Bathurst last year. Haven't had a great year, and now doing very, very well.
That's what I was talking about.
Look at the leaves.
Yeah, see all those leaves fall out of that intake.
Wheels are going on. Wheels are going on. Hi, Sean.
There's a bit of a Chip Ganassi talk there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, just let me tell you something about Ingle. Ingle had a wheel come loose and had to go straight across the chicane, otherwise the wheel would have fallen off.
That was in race 2. In race 2.
Yeah, in race 2. In their wisdom, Cairns penalised him for it, made him come in for mandatory stop, and it was just a complete and utter shambles, really. And I think Cams shouldn't be very proud of themselves.
Yeah, there was an equally a big mix-up with the deployment of the safety car. They showed the safety car sign as Paul Wheel.
Oh, Paul Wheel
locks up his brakes coming up the end of State Circle. I don't know what happened there.
Looks as though they might have tagged Radicic in the process there, Mark, so hopefully everything's all right.
Apparently right front tyre is the problem with Stephen Ellery's super cheap machine.
Yeah, they showed the safety car thing to half the field and not the other half, and there was no safety car out there, so half the field slowed down, the other half didn't.
A lot of very unhappy drivers over it
Oh,
too.
look at this. Whoa, it's lock up on the front left there.
Stephen Johnson.
Paul Wheel. Oh!
Managed to gather it up or not. Oh, look where Steve's gone up the escape road.
Oh.
Does a flick spin under power, and hopefully, where's he gone? There he is. Hopefully gets back into the battle. That's cost him a few positions. Neil Crompton makes his compulsory tyre stop. Lap 6 for the FTR driver. So that's one of his 2 compulsory pit stops out of the way. So Crompton rejoins the race. Meanwhile, this is the battle. A bit further down to the field. Bargwanna in 2nd position, and he's copping plenty of heat from Greg Murphy.
Yeah, when you hear Cam's making mistakes like that, it's no wonder the chairman of Avesco, Cochrane, wants to get rid of them, isn't it, really? I mean, it's silly, really.
Oh, look at the lock.
Oh, look at the lock-up on that!
That's Glenn Seaton.
Yeah, it's Glenn, and boy, was he ever close. That was very lucky there. He didn't...
That was a carbon copy of what happened to Paul Wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
At the same part of the track.
Yeah. The left front tyres in this thing are going to play a big part, because there were so many guys whose left front tyres were totally knackered at the end of that race, and 3 or 4 of them wore right through.
Seaton just...
Is it all right? No flat spot?
So Glenn pressing on. You heard him say there are no flat spots to that tyre despite the lock-up, but that's amazing. Both of them locking up in the same place.
Same place. I tell you something, you've got to hand it to Bridgestone when they can make the tyre that will work in the heat of Hidden Valley in Darwin and down here in the Lackerfie, 40-degree track temperature, and here sort of 8 or 9. It's worth a pat on the back, isn't it?
Look at this.
Look at this. That's, mate, look how far back he locked that thing up. And I can't believe there's no flat spot on it. That's quite incredible.
Perhaps he got off it early, and that's the reason why I kept going.
It went
so
straight
far
on,
down the
yeah.
escape road, yeah.
Stephen Richards. Look at this. Oh.
You could hear him whack it.
Well, I'm not sure if he heard the audio clear. He might have said he had a flat spot. It wasn't quite clear.
Yeah.
You can't imagine that thing would be like a 50-cent piece.
Well, exactly
right now.
that. I'm sure he said no flat spot.
So the order, Stephen Richards still leading this, 4.9 seconds up the road from Jason Bargwanna in 2nd. Greg Murphy in 3rd, Mark Scaife and Craig Lowndes. That's the battle. Just went through picture. Todd Kelly, the winner of race 2, is in 6th place. Grant Denyer.
Well, we knew it was going to be tough to just survive around this street circuit, and Stephen Ellery, you're out only after a couple of laps. What happened?
Yeah, unfortunately, I was coming into the roundabout chicane over the back there, and Forbes had a spin. He sort of lost it and went into the tyres and went out wide, and I just came around the chicane, went in under him, and he just drove me straight into the wall. It's total utter stupidity, basically.
You told me yesterday that this was a circuit that you didn't mind driving on. Have you changed your mind now?
No, not at all. I still enjoy it. I think it's great. I was having a ball out there, just cruising around. I started last, so I thought, let's just stay out of trouble and cruise around, do our pit stops when we were supposed to, and we'd work our way up into the top 10 by the end. But, you know, when you're racing against people like that, it's pretty hard.
Hard luck, Steve.
Thank you.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, cruise around and stay out of trouble when the competition is so close. Now, Greg Murphy has come in for his pit stop, and we will keep you right up to speed on everything as it happens here in the big one, the GMC 400. This is the 3rd and final race, and at the moment, this is how they stand. Stephen Richards, Jason Bargwanna, Murphy is just in for his pit stop. Scaife, Lowndes, Todd Kelly, Glenn Seaton, and Larry Perkins rounds out the top 8.
But a lot of pit stops are being made and have been made so far. So tactically, there's a different situation. Scaife, of course, taking his turn in the pits now, so he'll drop down the order.
So Mark Scaife enters pit lane, and he is doing a fuel stop here. Bottom left-hand corner is your Walker pit stop clock. That'll give you an idea. Now, that's a very slick stop in terms of fuel, so a quick splash for our Shell
Get back in
champ.
your rhythm again, mate.
Just a quick splash for our Shell Championship leader at the moment, Mark Scaife. The team just telling him there to settle back into the rhythm of driving. Get on with the job at the moment. Stephen Richards leads from Bargwana. Craig Lowndes now up to third. And it's Kelly, Todd Kelly, the winner of race 2. Seaton, Perkins, Mark Poole is up to 8th. Radicic and Tander rounds out the top 10. Grant?
Yeah, I'm here with Mark Larkham, the fastest qualifier on Friday and retiree now, mate. What's the drama?
Looks like we think it's split the block, which is most unusual, never happened, but that's the game we choose to play, and you've got to take those things on the chin. I'll get down the Mitre 10 store, I guess, and get some goo and plug her up, but won't help us this weekend.
Okay, look into your crystal ball for us, mate, and who do you think could take this one out?
Oh, well, I know there's a lot of different pit strategies going on. I know we had a different one, but I wouldn't be game to pick it at this stage. I really wouldn't.
It's that kind of race. Thanks, mate.
It is, yeah, thanks, mate.
Well, that is amazing. During the course of Grant's chat there with Mark Larkham, you can see what's happening with Garth Tander's car there. The Gary Rogers team are there, and apparently they are saying the race may be over for him.
Down, GT, will you take it back to the shed?
Sounds
Gary Rogers just saying to Garth, or the GT as they call him, they're going to take it back to the shed. Apparently diff problems with that car, rear axle problems, so Garth Tander has had an absolutely shocking weekend here, and it's really damaged his championship days.
Engel in trouble by the looks of it. No.
That's amazing, Mark, when you hear what Mark Larkham had to say there before, and you talk about the likes of the problems for Garth Tander. Even Cameron McLean at the end of that second race had a complete diff failure. And that is just so uncharacteristic. Now Lowndes is coming in for a quick splash as well. His fuel stop complete. And he works his way back out of pit lane. Glenn Seaton is in to do the same, and so by the looks of it is Larry Perkins.
Yeah, that thing with Garth Tander could have been when he hit the wall this morning, couldn't it?
Yeah, good point.
So Stephen Richards continues to lead, but he hasn't made a pit stop.
See Glenn, look at his speed.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful. You can see him looking at his dash, checking his speed to make sure he's under that 60km/h speed limit. If you exceed the speed limit in pit lane, you get a stop-go penalty, and that can be very, very expensive. The drivers really got to keep their cool under very difficult circumstances. Just looking down the list here, I think our winner yesterday, the winner of race 1, Greg Murphy's looking pretty strong right at the moment. He's probably the first of the drivers that have already pitted in the queue. There's a big overlap to happen here, but he's looking in a good position. That'll unfold as the race progresses.
John Bowe coming into the pits. Looks like a fuel stop for him. The team taking the opportunity to clear a few of the leaves out from that front radiator area. Has not been a good weekend for JB at all. Sent to the back of the grid for a technical infringement after qualifying on Friday. Allegations of the oil cooler being placed in the wrong spot. Then there was an inquiry over that incident with Craig Baird's crash yesterday. He was clear to that. There was no problems, but it has not been a good weekend for the Caterpillar Ford team, which is a real shame because he has been showing some good speed.
Don't forget the websites. You can catch up on all the news and even chat with one of our leading drivers. That's coming up in a moment. But the V8 Supercar site, firstly, is where you can keep track of the entire Shell Championship Series. Lots of exciting news there and a complete and comprehensive review of all the rounds and results up to date.
We continue on watching John Bowe. Don't forget, as Billy mentioned there before, you can join Mark Osler this afternoon and this man from 5:30 Eastern Time in the 10 website chat room for a bit of a talk about this race and everything that's happening in the V8 Supercar Championship. But you ride now with John Bowe. Let's have a listen to him in action. Notice there that The very clear and simple telemetry showed you on a couple of occasions that Bow actually selects first gear. They do use first gear here.
It just shows you how bumpy it is as well when you listen to the transmission. The wheels coming off the ground all the time. It's so hard around here on the cars, really.
Bow working through Queen Victoria Terrace. It's a fabulous shot as they flash by our camera there. Across the crown in the road. Down toward Kings Avenue. I'll sweep up here, past the National Archive building, and then they work up towards State Circle. Let's go to Grand Denia.
Yes, well, this race is claiming all our big names as well. Garth Tander, you're out as well. What's the drama?
We had a problem with the diff. It's blown a seal and it's just pumped all the oil out of the diff, so unfortunately she's all over.
It was a hard charge for you in that race so far. You're disappointed. How did you think you could have gone?
Well, yeah, a bit disappointed, obviously, because they're not going to score any points this weekend, and we can't afford to give that away to Scapey. And in that race, we're going really well. We're carving through the field. I think we got up to about 9th, and the car was exceptionally good. So it's just one of those things that sums up our weekend, really.
It's a tough race. Hard luck, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, it does sum up that weekend for Garth Tander. It's been a shocker. Coming into this round, only 12 points behind Mark Scape, but by the time they've shaking at the points at the end of this one, Scape's going to have a pretty handy points margin. He's got 60 points up on Tander after those first 2 races. If he does well in this final double points race, he's going to have a very handy lead.
Yeah, it's such a shame because really it's sort of David and Goliath, isn't it? The Gary Rogers lot against the HRT lot, and they've been giving them a really hard time. What's going on here? Rodney Forbes. Oh, lock her up and go straight on. Well, look.
That's a turn 1 there, just right near our commentary box now.
It's JB with his lights on.
You can see him closing in on the back of the Densitron car.
Yeah, and he's passed.
So it just shows how narrow it is down there.
You couldn't put 3 cars alongside one another. There's not enough room.
V8 Supercars about 2 metres wide across the mirrors. So get them side by side, that's 4 metres. It doesn't leave you a lot of width either side if you're trying to pull an overtaking manoeuvre. But back to our race leader, Stephen Richards.
That thing looks good, doesn't it? Look at it.
It is. It's riding the bumps very well.
Beautiful.
And Steve looks like he's doing it easy. 6.8 seconds, almost 7 seconds the lead over second place Jason Bargwana. But just a reminder, those 2 cars are yet to make any pit stops. So you've got to keep that up your sleeve. It's just so difficult. We like to be able to keep a tab of who's moving up the order for you, but positions change so quickly, so dramatically with these pit stops.
Oh, Cameron. Oh, dear. Was there a touch from Anthony Trett, do you think? Maybe not. Don't know. Cameron's had so much trouble. He's tried different pads and that. And he said that he got the brake on, the brakes hard, and he couldn't get the brake pads wouldn't release, and he just kept locking the left front hand wheel.
Yeah, the problems he had there in race 2, he attributed to a different compound of brake pad. He said he's gone back to the ones he had on Friday in the hope that they may fix that problem for this race. So
I don't think it did, but it looks
no, not so far anyway. The 2 Shell Helix Fords, Dick Johnson Racing entries, Paul Radicic and Stephen Johnson currently running at the moment. Further down the order,
We've just been conferring with our spotters in the pits, and by our reckoning, only Russell Ingall is the driver who has made his 2 compulsory stops, 1 for fuel, 1 for tyres in the Castrol machine. He's had a terrible weekend so far, so maybe in the race, the double points race, Ingall may be pretty strongly positioned toward the end of this one. In car with Paul Radicic, the Rat, at the wheel of the Shell Helix Ford. Currently 4th in the Shell Championship Series. Would have liked more points than he's earned so far, but he's fighting. He's in 5th position at the moment.
You may recall there too that big crash that Paul Radicic had in the previous round in Darwin. That's left him with a bit of an elbow injury. He's been having regular physio on it during the course of this weekend here in Canberra. He says it's still giving him a little bit of trouble, and it makes it hard when you've got to muscle that big Ford around these tight and tricky streets of Canberra. Jason Bargwana returns to the circuit. He was in 2nd place when he entered for his pit stop. Longhurst now would have moved up a spot courtesy of that. Lowndes and Scaife in tow as well. 2 two Red Barons. We didn't see a great deal of them during the course of that second race, which was quite unusual, although we did see the third car out of the Holden Racing workshop, if you like.
That's interesting, watching Craig Lowndes there. He's very well positioned at the moment. He's probably the first of the cars on the track that's made their one of their two compulsory stops. So Lowndes currently running 6th.
Oh, look at the lock up there.
Lowndes currently running 6th, but the interesting thing is that Stephen Richards is about 25 seconds in front. And depending on how long that pit stop takes, maybe 30, 35 seconds, if Steve can get a few more seconds on Lowndes and he comes in for his first stop, he may be able to rejoin in the lead, having made the first of his compulsory stops. So that should be fascinating stuff. Richards will really have the hammer down at the moment.
No wonder Lowndes wants to get past him. Look at Lowndes having a run on Tony Longhurst here down the outside as they run down Flynn Drive.
It's a long way around.
Well, now a different option as they exit that chicane there. Lowndes again looking for a wide run up underneath the bridge, and he's done it. Lowndes will get him here as they come underneath. Come on, Longhurst fights back. Longhurst comes back at him. Wow, look at that.
It's coming in. That was a brave move around the outside.
Particularly when he was coming into the pits. So Longhurst now peels off. He got hit by Lowndes down to that chicane in the first lap, first race you might remember. So Longhurst now comes in for his stop. It's all happening down there in pit lane. Most of those cars were really watching Stephen Richards now. He's about... he's almost 30 seconds up the road from Lowndes at the moment, and that'll be very handy if he decides to come in for his stop with no safety car periods. That needs a gap like that under green flag conditions.
Now that's interesting. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I think that may have been Campbell Little talking there. They look as though they're going to try and bring him back straight back in one lap later for the fuel. So they want to get those stops over with as quickly as possible.
Well, you can just never tell, can you? Just think how many safety car periods we had in race 1. Race 2 went completely caution-free.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And could we have a situation in a 50-lapper where we go caution-free? I doubt it, but...
I'd love to have known the odds on that. A reverse grid race around the streets of Canberra and no safety cars.
Isn't that incredible? He's our race leader, Stephen Richards. We hear from pit lane that he's coming in very soon. Got to take advantage of that lead while he's got it.
Will it be this time around? He sweeps out underneath Commonwealth Avenue. Indeed, it looks like he's coming in this time, Mark. So, our leader in the Kmart Commodore ventures into pit lane. 27-year-old Stephen Richards.
Okay, he's about, I think he was about 27, 28 seconds up the road from Lowndes when he decided to pit. So this will be very interesting when he comes out of pit lane. Will the Holden Racing Team car overtake him? Because effectively the cars ahead of them on the road haven't made their compulsory stops yet. Got the stopwatch going down there in the bottom left of your screen. 14, 15 seconds. Critical stop this for the Kmart team. Good stop too. Allow for the back end to slow down, but Craig Lowndes has swept through to the lead. There they are, turn 1. So Stephen Richards drops back, loses his lead, but he's on equal ground now in terms of the number of pit stops made with HRT.
Lap 17 of 50 as Richards rejoins the field.
But the important thing you've got to remember there, Rusty, is that he made a tyre stop then, whereas the Holden Racing Team cars have only made fuel stops, and the tyre stop's much longer. So the HRT cars both have to make their longer stops to come. So it could be a good move. It's going to be fascinating to see how this thing unfolds.
Get the calculators out at home. I'll tell you what, there is plenty of things still to happen in this race in terms of strategy and equations.
There's Jason Bargwana, and according to our timing monitors, that should put Stephen Richards in 4th position at the moment on the track. So he's doing very, very well. Very competitive in the Kmart Commodore.
Without making a stop, he may do what some of the drivers have done, and that's take them back to back almost with a lap in between. Another of the HRT cars comes in, so this now becomes a very interesting equation as we have a number of cars making their second stop. Both the HRT cars made fuel stops first. They're going for tyres second. Time critical here in the pits.
Wait. Go.
Mark Scaife gets the message to get out of pit lane and keep it under 60 kilometres an hour. That's the most important thing. It's fascinating when you look down the timing monitors, though, who is the leading car that has made 2 stops. There's a bit of a charge starting to come through the back of the field. At the moment, it's Todd Kelly, winner of race 2. He's in 17th position, and he's made 2 stops, so he can run all the way to the flag now. John Bowes in behind him in 18th. So can Kelly do it again? We'll have to see. As this positions change, we get a safety car. There's all sorts of things that could happen here. But at the moment, Kelly is the leading car in terms of the teams that have made their 2 compulsory tyre stops. He's back in 17th.
Mark Poole doing a tremendous job here in the John Deere Commodore. This is a former Holden Racing Team Commodore as well, and he's being chased here by Craig Lowndes as they work through that roundabout section that brings them on to Flynn Place. Lowndes with the lights on and desperate to try and get past and keep that fight going. Now, we're getting word that Russell Ingall's got some sort of smoke coming from the front of his car. We're not quite sure what that is. Paul Wheel.
Yeah.
So, not quite sure what's happened there.
Look at the front of Will's car. He's obviously coming in contact with someone.
Here's another interesting development there. Scaife, that lightning stop, he got out just in front of Todd Kelly. So, in fact, Scaife, by the time this timing monitor trips over again, I think you'll find Scaife is the leader of the 2 pit stop cars.
Left front on Engels.
Just rubbing on the guard in certain places. Isn't he monstering the curbs, though?
He's driving this car like he's stolen. He is murdering this thing, Russell Ingall. He's had a very frustrating weekend.
I like that.
Bouncing up the curves, locking the brakes. And look at, there's still smoke puffing from that left front tyre.
Not holding the enforcer up, though, Mark.
No.
I tell you what, Cam's is definitely off his Christmas card list.
Were they ever on it?
Well, if they were, they certainly are now.
Russell Ingall pushing as hard as he can, but it has not been a weekend the enforcer would like to remember. Let's have a look at the replay, Baz.
Oh, yeah, what's going on? It's Paul Wheel. He's straight over. Wallop! Oh, dear me.
And that's not good news for the K&J Thermal Falcon. That was a brand new spoiler on the front there. It had some damage from a previous race.
It's not good news for anybody because the tyres, watch the tyres. You come howling round there and the next guy round there's going to have the shock of his life, and because he's got no room to get through.
Russell, though, continues on to press on with this smoking front left. He's not coming into pit lane, so... Just trying to listen to what the team is saying to him there.
Oh, look at the wheels
shuddering,
yes. On the brakes. I think he's got a... And look at the way this...
Oh, look, he's hit it. Look at... Oh, no, I was going to say it looked like he
He's got there's a real problem with that left front wheel. You can see the way it's shaking, and the wheel shakes in his hands when he gets on the brakes. The smoke puffing from the thing. Let's watch this again. See if this is a... Yeah.
Now the second of the pit stops for Craig Lowndes.
Yep.
So this will be a crucial one. We'll keep an eye on this pit stop clock. Look at the brakes and how hot they are there. You can see some flames on the front brake discs.
Well, we're just looking back in the order for you all the time, if you're watching at home, to keep you posted on who is the leading car that has made 2 compulsory pit stops, because that'll be significant later in the race. At the moment, it's Mark Scaife. He got out in front of Todd Kelly, well in front of Todd Kelly, and he's in 9th position. So Scaife looking very strong at the moment. I'll keep you posted once we get information from the pits how many cars have made their 2 stops.
Oh, together with Paul Wheel.
That's a couple of corners before Wheel went off, I dare say.
Yeah.
It's further up the hill, back up Flynn Drive on the exit of State Circle. There's another look at it.
Yeah, it's... well, we know why he's smoking at the front now.
Yeah, pretty hard hit. People think of these V8 supercars as being pretty robust, but we have seen situations where they've clipped the wall and they've contacted another car and they've managed to bend the steering or break the steering, bend the front suspension, so they won't take too much punishment. This place is a very punishing racetrack.
That's going to be no fun to drive with the steering wheel shaking like that when you get on the brakes.
No way. Here's Shell Ford in. Johnson gets back into the race after his second compulsory stop. And Stephen Richards still running 3rd on the road at the moment. And he's still yet to make his fuel stop.
Stephen working up towards State Circle, a great result. 3rd place in that second race in the Shell Helix Ford. A marvellous result for him, considering he's taken over the coveted 17 plate, if you like, from his dad this season. Jason Bargwana making his way in.
been a model of consistency in comparison to his teammate this weekend.
Yeah, it's amazing how fortunes change, isn't it? Quite incredible.
And can't you tell by the smile on Barnes' face too? I haven't seen him this happy for quite some time. His girlfriend Deb is here this weekend. She's an aerobics instructor and has put him on a pretty strict fitness program.
Sounds like there's some problem down there.
Oh, what a shame. Mechanics working down in the pedal area. Mike Grant Denyer.
Yeah, Jason Bargwanna has come in and his team wasn't ready. They weren't even aware that he was coming in, so he's caught them absolutely unawares. There were no tyres out or anything, so this is going to cost him dearly, and I'm just wondering whether he actually has a problem. I think Bargs was gesturing to one of his tyres, so I don't know what the problem is. We'll see if we can find that out.
Interesting to find out too, Grant, what was happening on the inside of the car as well. Jason seemed to be motioning towards something on the floor, possibly the brakes or something in that area, so wonder what it is.
What a shame. We're just saying he was the model of consistency. He's been doing a good job this weekend, but it looks like things coming unglued for Gary Rogers' motorsport operation here in this very important double points final race. As Bargwanna can do nothing but sit in pit lane and wait for the boys to finish working on the car. Mark Poole continues to lead. He's still to make his stops. Glenn Seaton in car 5, currently 3rd in the order. But he is still to make his compulsory stop for tyres. Bargwanna in, Radicic, Murphy, Crompton. When you look down the order, Craig Lowndes is in 7th position. He's at the moment the first of the cars that have made 2 stops. Teammate Mark Skate behind him. Stephen Richards has just made his 2nd stop. Oh, Mick Donner into the parking lot.
Yeah.
TDK Ultra Tune machine. Big problems there.
That's the same spot that Paul Morris went off earlier today at around about 140 kilometres an hour.
He had, the reason Morris went off, he had a shredded tyre and it tore the brake line off.
60 kilometres an hour indicator.
So you can imagine what it was like for Paul Morris coming in there, flat out.
The Big Kev team did a good job to get that car back out for the 3rd race. It had buried it right in the tyre wall. I didn't think he would be taking part in this one, but they're out there. And Morris is okay. This is Glenn Seaton you're riding with now.
Gets back into the battle. He was 3rd on the track when he came in for that stop. Mark Poole and Paul Radicic ahead of him on the track, but they're still yet to stop. Let's have a look at this again on the replay, Baz.
Just a double lock up on the front by the looks of it. Yeah, just... Look at that.
I think he's got some engine problems there too. A lot of smoke billowing from the back of the car.
Sorry, Mark, as you're saying, Radicic, who you mentioned is currently 2nd on the road. We understand the Dick Johnson Racing team may be standing by for him. He's yet to do his tyre stop.
The boys say we can't have more than 6 people working on the car.
All right.
Very much aware of the regulations. Holding the chute up there. A lot of secrecy involved, particularly amongst the engine builders in V8 Supercar. They don't want anyone else getting their secrets. Grant Denyer's on the spot.
Yeah, Jason Bargwanna, they've had a look at it. Looks like it's a broken throttle cable, so they're trying to replace that right now. They've ripped down the flags to hold them up so no one can see into their engine bay. But that's what it is by the looks of things.
Mike Exel, the man who builds these Chev engines for Gary Rogers. Hard at work under the bottom there. Oh, look at this.
Oh, look how close that is.
Coming down under brakes. Neil Crompton and Craig Lowndes locked in a battle here.
There's Radicic in the pits for his tyre stop.
Crompton still to make his stop for fuel, so he's going to have to peel off pretty soon.
Greg Murphy in for his fuel stop as well. Looks like a quick splash.
See that guy in helicopter.
That's interesting, and had difficulty getting away there.
Yeah, he might have clutch problem on that car. So positions continually changing. Radicic coming out of the pits, so Murphy.
Left rear had a damaged wheel clip. That's why it took longer. It had a damaged wheel clip, mate. Press on.
So that's team manager Dean Orr talking to Paul Radicic there. The left rear, he said, had a problem with a wheel clip. It was cracked or broken in some way, and it took longer for them to get it off. You see Paul there readjusting.
Yeah, that's the
anti-roll bars.
Yep, adjustable anti-roll bars at the front and rear of the car. That can really quite dramatically alter the car's handling. So Radicic resets the car up after that stop.
That problem in the pits cost him. Murphy getting out ahead of him.
Oh, look, there's someone laying in the track.
Middle of the circuit there.
Crompton still to make his stop, his compulsory stop for fuel. So this really, when you look back through the field, that's the lead battle. Holden Racing Team at the front of it.
Now look at Lowndes trying for a run on Crompton. Crompton has good speed though. As they head down into this chicane, which is a very unusual off-camber exit.
Craig Lowndes currently 4th on the road. But the cars in front of him, Neil Crompton, Paul Radisich and Mark Poole, have yet to pit. Paul Radisich, this was some vision of him. It just shows the frustration as you're sitting inside the car waiting for things to happen. Come on.
Oh dear.
Every second you lose in the pits, very, very hard to make up on the track.
Oh, it's such a struggle. You struggle for laps and laps. Oh, look at this.
Lowndes has obviously gotten around Neil Crompton there on the exit of that turn, which leads him up onto the front straight. Possibly Lowndes has got a better run. And now Crompton falls back into the clutches of Mark Scaife.
Well, this is effectively the battle for the lead because only Mark Poole is leading the race now. He's 27 seconds ahead of the Holden Racing Team duo, but he's still got a pit. So this is your effective race leaders, the Red Barons, back on the march. Nice move.
Yeah, very good move.
Crompton gave him racing room.
That's the good thing about all the guys this weekend. I think Crompton must be in a bit of bother somewhere. All the guys this weekend have, really been sensible about it. No one's been sort of giving anybody a hard time as far as sticking them into the wall or anything, because it's...
So Lowndes goes through into 2nd on the track. Scaife goes through to 3rd on the track. Only Mark Poole and the John Deere Commodore lies between Lowndes and the lead.
Mark Poole surrenders the lead in the GMC 400 race 3. There he is exiting pits after his compulsory stop. Thomas Mazzero right behind him in the Densatron Commodore. But here's an earlier incident where Poole, who had a little bit of time up his sleeve, he built quite a lead, enough time perhaps to cushion those 2 pit stops, but he lost much of it on that unnecessary spin, a lock up there. And so unfortunately the tactics that Poole had used, quite unique tactics in this race, haven't come off. Trackside, don't forget, next Sunday with all the highlights of the support events from the GMC 400. And I can tell you the support events here have been fantastic. Do not miss them on trackside. And the Konica V8 lights from round 3 Oran Park next weekend. Don't miss that. There's one into the wall.
That's
Bargwanna. Jason Bargwanna. Goodness me. Well, that is a real shame. They had obviously just fixed that throttle cable problem. Well, let's hope they had.
Yeah, maybe it's...
maybe it's stuck on, possibly. I don't quite know what's happened there, but that has sustained a lot of damage to the front right-hand side of the Valvoline Cummins Commodore, and that is just on the exit of that sweeping left-hander that takes you up to Queen Victoria Terrace.
Safety car. We've got safety car boards out here, full yellows.
Well,
so this could be a situation where the Holden Racing Team... Let's have a look at this, Baz. Oh, it's already... Wow.
I wonder how that's happened, Mark. You don't seem to be going very fast on the exit of turn 1 there as you work up through that sweeping left.
I don't know, maybe really hard to say.
Well, this is a critical moment in the race. Craig Lowndes leading from Mark Scaife, Stephen Richards in 3rd. And this safety car will really close the field up.
So this is Rodney Forbes.
Oh boy, he's having a day, hasn't he?
He's yeah, certainly had a few spins this weekend.
Well, we're going to have a sprint to the flag now as the safety car comes out. They'll clear up that wreck of Jason Bargwanna's. There it is, the Walker safety car. Will grid up behind this machine. Lowndes in 1st, Scaife in 2nd, Richards in 3rd, Glenn Seaton in 4th, Neil Crompton in 5th. Wow, we've got a sprint to the flag here, folks.
This is going to be great, isn't it? Stephen Richards and Glenn Seaton, Neil Crompton there. Now they'll all be able to close up.
See the safety car waving by the Auto Pro machine. Another replay, McDougall.
Oh, McDougall.
All seem to be having a bit of a loop down there.
Yeah.
Mark Poole did it not so long ago.
I think you'll find what it is. The front brakes are wearing and just
locking the rears.
Yeah, locking the rears up. You know, you wind as much balance as you can on the front, and then the fronts are just about at it, and it just locks up on the rears.
Well, wonderful aerial views of the Canberra Street Course. One of the most spectacular looking panoramas.
So Craig Lowndes will lead them over the start-finish line. This is the GMC 400 as we run towards the finish of race 3. The big one, the 50-lapper, around 200 Ks, and everybody has done their 2 stops.
Well, Well, it's been great seeing some variety at the front of the pack over the weekend. As they say, cream always rises to the top. In this case, very red cream. 2 Holden Racing Team Commodores. Craig Lowndes leading, Mark Scape in second position, trying to pick his way past Dougal McDougall, with Stephen Richards in third. So Mark Scape, handily positioned for this championship, finishes second here to his teammate Lowndes, who pick up an extra 114 points on top of the 60 he already has over Garth Tander. So taking almost maximum advantage of the double point situation will really boost Mark Scaife's championship position. 2 moves there. Scaife getting around Dougal McDougall, and Stephen Richards managed to very quickly get past Anthony Tratt. For those of you noticing in the top left-hand corner of your screen, we're on lap 33 of 53. They have increased some of our back marks. Look at this.
There. Todd Kelly with, who's that, Neil? Yeah,
you may notice that the lap total has actually increased by 3 laps. That's because we have done 3 laps underneath the safety car.
Incidentally, the next round at Queensland Raceway, the organisers, the new owners of the circuit, have done a massive amount of work. There's car parking for 10,000 cars, 4-lane traffic going in, one-way systems, you know, decent everything now. So so we can look forward to a decent sort of entry and exit at Willowbank now, because they've got it all sorted. Big field pick their way through. Here's Craig Lowndes at the front. Fastest lap so far, 1:45.99. Craig Lowndes. So he has been the fastest man most recently in the race. There's Stephen Richards coming up behind the Pepsi Commodore of Dougal McDougall and his pursuit of HRT. Big field pile through that very narrow turn 1. As Craig Lowndes works it down toward Queen Victoria Terrace. Working the car hard. You can hear the undertrays hit the ground as they launch off that curb. Very, very hard, both physically and on the mechanical stuff as well. Stephen Richards trying to find a way past Dougal McDougall. Holden Racing Team just stretching the lead on the Kmart machine. Yeah, Dougal didn't make it too difficult for...
Oh, look at this.
Oh, dear me. Oh, it didn't make it too difficult for the HRT cars.
Well, he shouldn't be really doing that. He's in 19th position in the race.
He should get out of the way.
Stephen Richards trying to find his way through.
This may be an opportunity for him here, Mark, but I don't think he's close enough as they run down. Yeah, Flynn Drive and Flynn Place. But he's going to have to be tucked right up in behind the Pepsi Commodore if he's to have a decent crack at it as they come down into that chicane. And that aerial shot from our chopper shows you he is just not close enough to do it. So that's helping HRT all the way. Lowndes and Scaife ahead of Richards, who's in third, and at the moment caught up behind Dougal McDougall.
Well, Dougal's, you know, he's a lap car. He's just been lapped by the leaders. He really should give Stephen Richards some racing room to get through, get on with the battle for the lead. If he was battling position, he's got every right to be there, but really at the moment, it's not good for the battle for the race. You can see Stephen Richards flashing his lights on. Come on, get out of the way. Dougal is not giving him any space whatsoever.
Yeah, really. Well, the old blue flag should be almost poking in Dougal's window. I can't... Can we see any blue flags around?
Well, that lap cost Stephen Richards 2.5 seconds in his pursuit of the Holden Racing Team, so this is not good tactics from Dougal McDougall. I'm sure he's appreciating the fact he's getting a bit of TV time, but from a sporting perspective, this is not good at all.
I think in a situation like that, a little tap up the bum is not sort of not wrong, really.
Stevie Richards is going to run out of patience here, and he's got it. He's got it. He got a great run as they ran up Kings Avenue there. Now they sweep into State Circle, and already the Kmart Commodore pulls away.
I think Dougal did actually get out of the way then.
So Stephen Richards now is going to make up that 2 or 3 seconds, crucial seconds he lost behind the Pepsi machine. There's Glenn Seaton in 4th position on the road, coming up behind Anthony Tratt to lap the Toll Express driver. Holden Racing Team pumping it out now, 2 seconds. The lead Lowndes has over Scaife, and a further 3 seconds back to Stephen Richards.
Tratt's back down in 20th position, so Seaton, much like Stephen Richards, in that dilemma with Dougal McDougall, will be keen to get past him.
Oh, what's going on up the front?
There's a big brake lock up there from someone up in front now. I wonder where that's come from. That might have been one of the Mobile Holden Racing Team entries. Both Scaife and Lowndes are up in front. So I wonder what caused that. They sweep underneath Commonwealth Avenue and up onto the start-finish straight once again. 36 of 53. There's Lowndes, your leader. Couple of car lengths to teammate Mark Scaife, and that's the gap back to third. And Stephen Richards in the Kmart Commodore.
Well, Stephen will be very much aware of his position in the Shell Championship Series as well. This being a full championship round, at the moment, if he finishes where he is, he will be the overall winner of the GMC 400, just by dint of his consistency. And at the moment, we're just doing our sums, but I think it'll be Richards first overall, Crompton second overall.
Oh boy, how nice for Neil.
And Lowndes third overall, so we'll keep an eye on that. His positions remain static, but it'll be only Neil's second podium in a number of races. He's been in the championship for a long time. 61 rounds. That'll be his second podium, so I'm sure that'll bring a smile to the face of Cromley. There he is, right in the thick of the battle.
Talk about variety, though, this weekend in terms of people being in podium-style positions at the end of each of the races. It's been great, hasn't it? The format has been just sensational.
Well, all the talk in the pits when I was talking to these teams between races is they're going to they're really going to put a push on to try and get reverse grids into every race. Almost from now on, there's a lot of people very enthusiastic about the concept, and I think this weekend has proved that. We've seen a lot of different drivers, a lot of different sponsors and cars at the front of the pack. It's been very exciting.
Throw into that the pit stop element too, Mark. I mean, it really is a team sport, and that just shows it off at its best. We've seen so many people do so well around the tight streets here. They make the advantage during those pit stops.
Well, there's Todd Kelly down the inside. Yep. Sneaks up the inside of Crompton. So Kelly moves up a position. He just took him for fifth. So the order: Lowndes, Scaife, Richards, Seaton, Kelly just moves through to fifth. Crompton back to sixth. And it's Perkins, Radisich, John Bowe, Tony Longhurst, Russell Ingall now up to 11th. So it's been a real topsy-turvy day.
Looks like Neil's starting to struggle with something.
Yeah, couldn't close the gap on Kelly in race 2 either. The HRT Commodore seems to be working very well around the streets of Canberra this weekend. It's been a great weekend for Todd Kelly. And you've got to Pat Holden and my car and the people who put the Holden Young Lions program together. It's great to see the factory operation getting behind new young talent.
Well, it's been an operation that's been around for a couple of years now, Mark, and it's now starting to pay dividends. That's the great part about it. Giving the 20-year-old youngster a go. Kelly hails from Mildura. We jump aboard now with Paul Radisich. The Be Clear and Simple telemetry shows you the way as he sweeps into State Circle. To your left, the new Parliament House underneath Commonwealth Avenue. And up through the gearbox in the Shell Helix Ford.
Radisich sitting a bit further back in the queue than he would like. Currently 8th behind Larry Perkins. It hasn't been a very strong result for Radisich. A tough weekend. Look at the speeds. Look at this. Back to first gear for these chicanes. Very hard on the transmissions this weekend. All the teams, all the cars have to run a regulation diff ratio. The one that was chosen was a 3.5. A lot of teams saying we could have gone for something slightly shorter, and that would have avoided us having to go back to first gear for these chicanes. But they'll sort that out. This is the first time on the circuit, and when they come back next year, they'll have some data, they'll know exactly the right way to go. Back onto pit straight once again, Craig Lowndes. 3 seconds in front of his teammate Mark Scaife. Stephen Richards 3.5 seconds behind our championship leader. So positions at the top remaining fairly static at the moment.
Just a point of interest for you here, that change of position between Todd Kelly and Neil Crompton has altered the point standings a little. Stephen Richards, if he stays where he is at the conclusion of this race, will win the round with 201 points. But the loss by Neil Crompton of that 5th position taken by Todd Kelly means that he is equal for second on 171 with Craig Lowndes, who currently leads this race.
So Crompton hanging on to his second ever career podium by his fingernails at the moment, thanks to a move by Todd Kelly to has actually been to the advantage of his teammate, Craig Lowndes.
Scape, interestingly, on that point, is on 168 points, so confident, as you say, won't want to lose any more positions if he's to hang on to that podium spot. Now working down. Flynn Drive. Lowndes continues to lead the way. The youngster who now bases himself in Brisbane and shares that time with another place he has in Melbourne when he's down testing with the team. Winner at Bathurst in 1996 with Greg Murphy, and 3 times a winner of the Shell Championship Series, most recently last season. His teammate Mark Scape, who leads the Shell Championship Series, currently sits in 2nd place. A marvellous weekend for Todd Kelly in the My Car Holden Young Lions entry. The 20-year-old at the moment sits 5th on the road and took victory, as you'll recall, in the 2nd race of the GMC 400. That was a marvellous result. Great aerial shot showing off this race around the streets of our nation's capital. As I said a little earlier, nowhere in the world will you see anything like this. There's the old Parliament House off to the left. Great crowd there just to the right of the circuit.
That's amazing, really, when you think about it. The sort of good analogy is you can't imagine having something running down Pall Mall and round sort of Parliament Square. And
as we said before,
it's great.
NASCAR's at the White House.
Well, it shows the high esteem that the V8s are held in over here now, doesn't it?
Yeah, wonderful shots we've had from the Goodyear blimp and the Channel 10 chopper right throughout this fabulous weekend of racing in the nation's capital. And it just gets better and better. The race unfolds. Craig Lowndes, it is, continues to lead. 3.1 seconds now. He's just opened about 1/10 of a second over his teammate Mark Scape. So it's back to conditions normal in the Shell Championship Series. Holden Racing Team once again in dominant form.
I understand too that Craig has been in communication with team boss Jeff Grech. Says the car is A-OK, going beautifully, and there's not a thing wrong, which is great news as he heads for home. Compulsory pit stop window, of course, now closed.
Yeah, it's a very important round for Craig Lowndes. He's currently 6th in the Shell Championship points. Hasn't had a lot of luck in some of these rounds. Mechanical failures costing him big points in important races. It looks like he can bring it home this time. It's going to be a big boost to his championship position. 25-year-old, 3 times Shell Series champion. Unbelievable winning record.
Now we're being told the safety car's being called, Mark. That's the reason why Steve Reed has gone off on the run up to the start finish straight. They're just underneath Commonwealth Avenue by the looks of it. He's spun. So this is going to bunch the field up again. There is Steve Reed in the Optus Commodore. I wonder how that has happened. It's, I guess, a similar result to what we saw with Garth Tander in race 2 when he and Brad Jones were dicing for the lead. But this has brought out the safety car.
Hang on, he started it up.
Oh, that's handy. Oh, well done. What a man. That's good. That's sensible. That's really good.
Crowd giving him a big cheer. In the grandstand there, Steve Reed gets it going, gets it out of harm's way to avoid the safety car having to come out of the circuit, which will please the Holden Racing Team boys no end.
There's Stevie.
Instant legend. So Steve Reed, who's had a very strong weekend. He's been very quick and consistent. It's an unfortunate way to finish.
Mark, all we need now is cams to fine him now for going the wrong way of the traffic. That wouldn't surprise me, I tell you. In their wisdom.
Here's the replay base.
Oh, that's Larry up inside there.
Oh.
And yeah, same, you know, carbon copy of the Tander thing.
Tander Jones clash.
Tander Jones clash, exactly.
So look at that again from the top.
Yeah, there you go. It's, you see, because it's a real invite, because it's the line. You're out there and then you come in, and basically, you know, Larry saw a gap and closed up.
For the Jason Barquana fans watching as well that may have wanted to know what happened before with that crash, he did in fact have a throttle that stuck wide open.
This is 14th, 15th and 16th, but what a contest. He's given no corner, accepted none. He's having another go straight.
This is going to end in tears here, Barry. This is the run to turn 1. Now McLean, is he going to give way to Brad Jones?
goodness me.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to say, the amount of times that Brad's whacked Cameron in the last 5 laps has been...
You know that old saying about knocking each other's lights out?
Literally.
Look at these things.
The state of the cars, though. Look, there wouldn't be a car in this race that doesn't have some battle. Look at it.
These three
demolition derby.
These three blokes have been hammering each other like you wouldn't believe. Look at the damage on the car.
The crowd are loving it. The crowd are absolutely loving it. Jones has managed to get past McLean, and all of them. Look at the front of Jones's car even. That's from all the contact with the back of McLean's machine.
Look at Cameron McConnell's thing. Yeah, he's got brake lights missing and spoilers hanging on the ground.
Oh, the panel beaters rubbing their hands together right about now.
Just goes to show the quality and the depth in V8 Supercar at the moment. This is a battle for the minor places. This is outside the top 10. Look how hard they're charging.
There's our race leader, Craig Lowndes. Leads from teammate Mark Scaife. The gap around about 3.5 seconds. This has been a tremendous performance from this team who have had a bit of an ordinary weekend, I guess, by their standards so far. But they certainly have got the strategy just right for this third race.
Yes, indeed, they learned a big lesson in that race 1 when they decided to keep going beyond an early stop. That put them right back in the queue. This safety car didn't work for them either. Now things have really worked out for the Holden Racing team. You got their pit stop strategy well organised. There was another battle further down in the pack.
If you're wondering what Barry was worried about, it happened right outside our commentary box, and this is the battle.
It was nearly all ended in tears. It was 4 of them all sideways. It was classic.
This is the battle to stay inside the top 10. John Bowe in 9th, Tony Longhurst 10th, Paul Morris 11th.
Oh, look at Morris!
Oh, look at Morris trying to get on.
Oh, dear me.
Russell Ingle. Russell's profiting from all this.
Oh, it's got to end in tears. No, he's done it. Classic.
No one believed.
Oh, call him Houdini.
Well, we were saying you wouldn't get 2 cars abreast. That was 3 cars abreast on the streets of Canberra. That was unbelievable.
Russell Ingle read that beautifully, didn't
he? He really did. He's
the enforcer's doing a bit of enforcing this afternoon. Back to his powerful best.
And that sort of thing's got Ingle's handwriting all over it. He loves a bit of that.
Those of you who may have just joined us, Stephen Richards' teammate Greg Murphy, who took out the first ever race around the streets of the nation's capital, has retired with a clutch failure.
This is the battle for 3rd position. Those Seaton really closed the gap on Stephen Richards. Let's look at that replay.
Look at this.
This is coming down pit straight last time around.
This was what I saw outside of our commentary box window.
But here's the battle for 3rd position. Stephen Richards defending hard from Glenn Seaton, who's come storming through. At the end of this race, closed the gap to the Kmart Commodore. Could we see a Ford finishing in the top 3 in Canberra this afternoon? It's been a tough run so far. Holden have claimed 2 victories so far this weekend, and looking very much like they're going to take a clean sweep with Holden Racing team running 1-2. But look at Glenn Seaton. He's pumped up for a big result here if he can get past the Kmart Commodore. Down Flynn Drive. Hard on the gas as they accelerate down toward turn 12. Back on the brakes. First gear for this incredibly tight chicane. Headlights on. Stephen Richards have his mirrors full of headlights with that XR8 behind him. Shifting up through the gears once again as they continue down Flynn Place to the 2nd chicane.
At least they don't have to contend with the sun today. If you didn't see it yesterday, the sun was very low in the afternoon, and a whole bunch of guys, probably 6 or 7 teams, changed their windscreens last night because with the pitting on the windscreen and the sun reflecting in it, they were saying they couldn't see a thing, couldn't see anything.
4 laps remain in this one, and this is an enthralling battle for 3rd place. You can forget the Mobile Holden Racing team. They have charged out into the distance, but this is a great battle going on. The Kmart Commodore hanging on to 3rd place, and at the moment, Stephen Richards also hanging on to what could be the round victory in the GMC 400. Look at Glenn Seaton, twice a winner in the Shell Championship Series, muscling away.
Just depends how much a grudge match Stephen Richards wants to make of this. If he lets Seaton through, he's still going to win the round overall. I'm sure he'd like to bring home 3rd place for the Kmart team. They've had a very strong weekend. Greg Murphy winning race 1. Richards, who can bring it home on the podium. It'll be a great weekend for Gary Dumbrell and the boys.
Todd Kelly's catching up while they're sort of having a go at each other.
So the order at the moment, Craig Lowndes, 3.8 seconds up the road from Mark Scape. 14 seconds behind is this battle for third. Stephen Richards and Glenn Seaton going hammer and tong. Ted Kelly back in fifth. Neil Crompton in sixth. Perkins, Radisich, Longhurst and
Look at Seaton, Mark, having a run down the inside. Doesn't get any closer than that.
Done it.
Doesn't get any closer than that.
That was really, that was...
Seaton just jumping for joy. I passed him, he says to the team. He may be surprised even himself. Now he's got to try and box that Kmart car into the finish. Look at how cool he is behind the wheel. This veteran of touring cars, 2 times Shell champion, Todd Kelly as well. So Stephen Richards struggling for speed in the final laps of the GMC 400. Grant Denyer is in pit lane.
Well, I'm down here with Greg Murphy. Greg, you're now on the sidelines, but you're watching these last couple of laps here. He's getting a bit serious out there.
Yeah, Richards just let him go. He's been told he's still going to win the round outright, so there's no point in holding these guys up. They might get a bit desperate and do something silly, so he's just let him go, and the car's been working pretty well. I think the guys did awesome pit stops, and he's just cruising it to the finish, which is the right thing to do. First Kmart round victory for the year, or any time, so we're pretty happy that he'll just cruise it to the end.
Just talk us around this lap here. How the feeling? What's the machinery like, and how would you be feeling after 50 laps around this circuit?
Well, mine's not feeling very good at all, but it's pretty hard on the gear. Like, you have lots of creaks and groans. The brakes are really struggling. It's hard on brakes. As you see, Cam McConville with a flat tyre. The front end of his car's not looking too beautiful, so he's obviously found it pretty tough on the equipment, I'd say.
Let's hope Stephen can bring it home nice and strong.
Oh, I'm sure he will. He's been doing a great job, and he's just going to make sure that he does it for the team, which he'll be doing.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks. Stephen Richards doing the right thing. As we suspected, he's just easing it back because he knows at the moment he is sitting on the top of the podium. First Shell Series round victory for Kmart Racing. It'll be a big day. There'll be plenty of champagne in the garage, but here's Cameron McConville.
Started out, Marcus, I was going to say, it's a great weekend for the Rod Nash Racing team. The Auto Pro outfit, they got inside the top 50% in qualifying. Oh, Russell Ingall's got problems.
Oh, boy.
Now, there's something wrong with the back end there. I wonder if it's a flat back left or something. Something's wrong. Try and get a closer look. Looks as though the car's crabbing a little bit.
Yeah, it might be a flat tyre.
Really.
Haven't we seen some punches around here this weekend? There's been 2 laps remaining in this race, but there's been a lot of flat tyres. It just... The only reason you could think of it would be a lot of debris and cars picking it up, puncturing tyres, because there's been a lot of flats. Haven't seen this many in one race for a long time.
It's a braking trouble too, Mark. This has been quite a torturous circuit on brakes. A lot of the teams put new pads in specifically for this race.
And we've seen a lot of flat spotting of tyres too, so that could be a cause of some of these punctures.
Whoa.
There's still points. You're still in the points. Keep 4 laps to go and you're going back out.
Russell Ingall.
Keep coming. Okay.
Still in the points, the team telling him, don't give up. Not that Russell Ingall ever gives up, but it's been a very character-building weekend for the Enforcer.
If he doesn't end up with a stutter out of this one, I'll give it away. All that wheel wobbling.
Okay. There's about 3 laps in the points.
Now, one thing's for sure, Russell's not going to be speeding down the pit lane again. It cost him $300 the last time.
Just amazing, the drivers say the encouragement that gives you when you're all alone in the car and you're feeling bad. One of the guys
He was flashing his lights, and I know who's flashing his lights.
I think he was flashing our cameraman in pit lane, actually. He was covering something else, so trying to tell him to move on.
5.2 seconds the gap now. Craig Lowndes has over Mark Scape. The Holden fans, the throngs of Holden fans here in Canberra cheering him on.
So this is the last lap, folks. We are on our way home in the GMC 400. What a fantastic performance it has been for Craig Lowndes. And he is now going to be in a position to cruise to victory ahead of his teammate Mark Scape in the 3rd race. A fantastic effort by the Mobile Holden Racing team, who have had a very very, very ordinary weekend so far. And it's all come good in the double points race. This is worth 120 points for victory in this one. The Canberra crowd.
How many people have said it's the best thing that's ever happened to Canberra?
So lights on for Craig Lowndes as he heads for home in the big one. The third race of the GMC 400, and much needed points for the defending Shell Series champion. It has not been his year at all so far. Problems in Darwin. Got involved in all sorts of biffo at Eastern Creek. And when it counts here in the streets of the nation's capital, Craig Lowndes is going to take it out. The man who will win the round, though, Stephen Richards in the Kmart Commodore, but take nothing away from the Mobile Holden Racing team. A 1-2. Wonderful scenes as Jeff Gregg, Natalie Lowndes and all the team hang over pit wall as they await Craig Lowndes and Mark Schaefer. 1-2 for the Mobile Holden Racing team.
Great drive.
Got to hand it to him.
Guys, it was fucking good.
Showing his elation there. Glenn Seaton getting across the line in third place.
Absolutely wonderful, I think he said.
It's something like that.
Very good translator, Mark. So Lowndes takes the win from Scape and Glenn Seaton in this third race. As we understand it, Stephen Richards will win the round. That is confirmation of that fact. So a fantastic performance. Lowndes and Crompton will finish, I guess if you like, equal second in terms of points for the round. So great to see Cromley on the podium as well. He hung on there for sixth place behind Stephen Richards. But there they are, the Mobile Holden Racing team. And wouldn't they be delighted with that?
You've got to hand it to them. Look at the people, you know, you've got to hand it to them. At the end of the day, you know, they're a class act, and you don't win so many races just by being lucky. They're really very, very good.
Well done to HRT, and well done to the organisers of this fantastic event, the inaugural GMC 400. A fantastic weekend of motor racing and a variety of different winners at the end of each of the three races. We will recap the results for you of the third one. There it is, Craig Lowndes and Mark Scape, 1 and 2. Seaton, Todd Kelly, Stephen Richards wins the round in the Kmart Commodore. A fantastic effort for the 26-year-old. Crompton, Larry Perkins and Paul Radicic complete the top 8.
Canberra for the first time, and what a wonderful event. I'm sure there are many more to come, and the fans have turned out in their thousands to welcome the V8 Ford and Holdens to the streets of Canberra. A wonderful addition to the nation's capital. Right now, I'd like to introduce the man who came third today, a wonderful effort in the FTR Falcon, and to present the award, the Director of Motorsport for the Canberra Tourism and Events Corporation, Katie Reardon, will make the presentation to Neil Crompton. Over here, Cromley. Wow, that's your second podium in something like 61 starts. It's been a tough career, but wow, I bet that champagne will taste good later on.
Yeah, it certainly will, Mark. Just all credit to my team today and all weekend. We really worked flat out. I know everybody's team does, but special thanks to the guys down there. I can't nominate them all, but we worked really hard. We made a lot of changes after the first day, and they worked. Made a bit of a blue early in that race when I torched the front right tyre, and all thanks to Bridgestone, because I did virtually 95% of the race on the one set of tyres, and they were still pretty strong at the end. So, no, very pleased.
Congratulations, Neil Crompton. Put your hands together, folks. A wonderful effort for Ford on the streets of Canberra. Right now, I'd like to call on the ACT Chief Minister, Kate Carnell, to make the presentation to second place today. He had a pretty tough start to the weekend, but he made up for it at the end. Craig Lowndes. Come over here, Craig. Well done. Oh, you got a power tool for your problems as well. That was a pretty difficult start to the weekend in terms of pitch strategy, obviously, but everything came together for you at the big double points race.
Well, it did. The guys done a fantastic job. To Mobile and Holden, thank you for building a great car. Really, our strategy didn't really play a part. The cars were fantastic. The speed was there. The pit stops were great. And really, we've just put a big effort in for this one. And really, the 50 laps around here is no mean feat, but it's a fantastic track, and we'd love to come back.
Indeed. Everyone agrees with that. Put your hands together, folks. Craig Lowndes second here in the GMC 400. Right now, I'd like to call on the directors of the Global Machinery Company, sponsors of this wonderful event, Tony D'Antonio and Peter Hosking, to present the winner's laurel and trophy to our overall winner of the first GMC 400, Stephen Richards. Stephen, congratulations. What a wonderful moment for the Kmart team. I know Gary Dumbrell and everyone will be very happy. That's the first victory for Kmart, and I'm sure the first of many.
Yes, definitely for sure, Mark. The guys really pulled the strategy all weekend. The Kmart racing team did a great job. To GMC, thank you. Kmart, Holden and Castrol. It's been a great day for me, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Put your hands together, folks. The big winner of the GMC 400, Stephen Richards. Absolutely on fire on the streets of Canberra.
He's pretty good on the street, Stephen Richards. He knows how to lift for the big events. Great result all round for Kmart Racing, because Greg Murphy, you might recall, took race 1. But here's the championship position. Seaton takes over from Tander in 2nd, and Craig Lowndes has lifted up a couple of spots into 4th, menacing the drivers in front of him. So with all these double-point events, it's possible for anything to happen yet in this year's Shell Championship Series. Barry Sheen, incredible stuff, really. And I tell you what, the gloves are coming on now because of the temperature, but the gloves were off all weekend with the drivers, weren't they?
Amazing, really good. I have to say, I really enjoyed this weekend. Some of the racing, you know, we've had different winners and that with Murphy. It was nice to see Murph win, but the competition's been great. You know, it's so tough, and I think the drivers really acquitted themselves great, because it was so easy to crash here. You know, not a lot of room to pass and that. But the people in Canberra, you know, the organisers and everything, it's been a really good thing, and we've got the best touring car series in the world, bar none, there's no doubt about it.
A lot of concern among the drivers about the reverse grid going into this event. Now, there may still be some concerns, I'd imagine, because not all of them had an easy run. However, as far as spectators are concerned, it was fantastic. And if you can have a reverse grid work here, you'll have it work anywhere, really.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, with the reverse grid, it worked out perfectly, because there was a bunch of good guys at the front, a bunch of good guys at the back, and, you know, there really wasn't that much carnage in it. You know, the first race of all, I thought, oh boy, imagine what it's going to be like the reverse grid. I've had a great time, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so too did I. It's such a variety of results, and I think everyone has enjoyed themselves. Of course, Garth Tander might have other things to say, because he's just had such a rotten weekend. In fact, the whole team had a tough time, but there are many races left to go.